Mhm.
Okay. Does either of you want to start? Have either of you got anything pressing that you wanted to talk about today?
I haven't, so I was hoping that Julia might.
Well, Penny, taking up from where we last left it with the conversation with the essentialism. Um, I think I've really reflected, and I messaged Steph because I felt her latest podcast episode really struck home with me about how um, you've got to. I'm in a season of life. I've got very young children. I'm trying to start a business. It's total madness. I'm on the go, but it's kind of like my energy vibe is like that's how I like to be. All the plates in the air. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, so I've got lots of opportunities, really exciting. But I think as we talked about last week, it's about hang on a minute now. This is the year for the book.
mhm,
And for me, showing up every day, get because I'm getting up early, but I think with the messaging we talked about that it is about it's not enough simply to show up. You've got to have the energy. And I
mm,
think I have realized, taking a little bit of a step back, that I just need to streamline things and see, and I think we talked about this before, seeing it through the lens of, is this helping me on my quest to kind of be known as, that thought leadership goal in my
mm,
niche? Or is it helping me with the book? And if it's a no, then I have to say no.
mm.
And yeah.
It's interesting what you say there about seasons, though, because I had just handed in my manuscript to Jessica, and I did a thanks, Penny. I did a I did a section on that very topic, which is about seasonal writing and seasons in terms of the seasons of the year. So sometimes we don't want to write because it's warm and sunny outside, and then also the idea that in the winter. I tend to write better in the winter because I don't want to be outside. So I'm quite happy to be inwardly focused. But then I also wrote a bit about the seasons of where we are in life because everyone's seasons are different and some seasons feel really long. Hi Anna. Some seasons seem very long, like when our kids are young, maybe, or when we've got, a particular commitment to something. And other seasons can be short, where we've got a month where work's hectic and we have to fit our writing in around that. So I think it is, you're absolutely right about trying to do our best to be aligned with whatever season we're in personally and whether we need to shift things around. And that can be a challenge in itself, right? Can't it? Just to make
Yeah.
these changes.
And I think at the moment, I just haven't got time. It's not that I haven't got time, but I'm not making the time work so that
Mm,
like the newsletter's not happening, that I've dropped the ball. Like it's all these things that are really, I want to be doing that because they're key
mm,
parts of the marketing side of when I get my book out. I
mm,
just haven't done. So I've made a decision. Yeah, Thursdays from next week onwards are going to be my day
mm.
for writing in
Yeah.
whatever form that takes. Um, and I feel like because this book has been in me and I walk around and I just feel it's there. I feel like if I just focus, I probably now I've got such a clear idea about the structure, far better than after I did that messy first draft.
Mm.
Um, I feel like I could just get it done. It just wants to be done, is how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, the postman came. So obviously that's absolutely outrageous on his behalf. Yeah, I think, yeah, like I think I've always tried to sort of advocate that to make this process because it's such a demanding process. I think it's more demanding than we ever realize when we first start out. Is that it has to work in a way that feels good because when it feels good, we're more likely to do it. So for some people, that is like me, I have to write every day because that's the only way I can keep momentum going because I'm really good at making other arrangements. So if I used to just write on a Friday, and then I'd always be like, well, if someone asked me for coffee or whatever, then I'd be like, well, yeah, sure. And then I'd be like, it doesn't matter, I'll write later or I'll do it on the Saturday. And I never did it. So the only way I could do it was to just think, no, even though I have now a much more flexible week in terms of when I could write, I know myself well enough to think, actually, I have to just do the daily thing to help me stay making progress. But I spoke to another at someone's book launch recently, and we were talking about this very thing around, is it daily? Is it a day per week? And she actually said the only way she could do it was to focus on a word count for the week. So she'd be like, I just thought I'm going to get 2,000 words done this week. And however I did that, it might have been half an hour on one day. I could then have done an hour on a different day. But as long as the word count reached that amount by the end of the week, she was happy. And I thought that was a really interesting way of looking at it for her perspective, rather than it feeling like it had to be a certain routine that she was in. It was more just because she runs a couple of clinics, an osteopathy clinic. So she was like, I just had to do it in the time between patients or whatever it was. So I think it just has to be what's right for us. But it's that consistency in whatever that looks like that's going to get to get the end result eventually. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good that you've had that realization as well as part of the process. Because then when
Yeah,
you write book two,
such a
Julie,
journey. It's
exactly
such
what,
a journey, isn't it? From sort of idea to actually getting it out of you. It's quite
yeah, yeah. It is such a journey, and like I said, everyone I ever speak to, either people who've worked with me or just authors generally, I think that all of us always talk about that you just don't anticipate the journey. You think it's going to be because you've maybe got the content, you've got your structure, you've got all the practical side of it, but it's the kind of the emotional side of it, the learning that we go sort of the journey, I suppose, of learning that we go on about ourselves and about our processes and how writing makes us feel and how we cope with the frustration not being able to do all these things that you don't necessarily consider right at the beginning of the whole process. It's more just like, how can I write this book? And we don't think about the emotional side. So yeah.
the end of the month, the deputy editor of the Family First magazine got in touch to say they're going to post it for me
Oh,
through my
good.
door, so it's going to be published. So that
Oh, brilliant. Well, you must
yeah,
celebrate.
there is progress. It's just not. It's just so messy.
Yeah.
How I've
And
got.
sometimes that kind of messy, that's just the way life is, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
messy. It's not, you should have seen me, honestly, last Thursday. I had all sorts of things and I was absolutely determined to get it to Jess before I flew to Scotland. And yeah, I ended up having to just think, do you know what? This is as good as it's going to get. I just have to send it because I was tinkering around and tweaking bits and I ended up doing exactly what I always say to people don't do, which is just to keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and then thinking, oh, maybe it's not ready. Maybe I must email her. And then I was like, just send the thing, just send it. So yeah, it is a process for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries at all. Anna, what I know you sent me your question. Do you want to sort of say what your question is that might help the others?
Yeah, it was just about some of the next practical steps. I feel like I'm getting quite near the end of this first draft now. I think I'm up to 56,000 words, which is great. So yeah, and I was sort of aiming around 60,000. So I don't know how long, it might be a bit longer. I feel like actually I haven't quite, got out what I needed to.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm just thinking about, I know you said to plan ahead, like thinking about an editor and all of that. When I first did my initial draft of my book about IBS and weight loss, which I have scrapped, but that one, I did speak to Jessica, is it the same editor that you've got?
Mhm.
And I looked at her costs like for doing the size of book that I'm doing now, and I just don't think I can afford an editor of that
Mm.
like capacity,
Level. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that quality. I'm sure she's amazing and she's great, and I really liked her before, but it was like for 70,000 word book, it was like multiple thousands, and I don't feel like I can invest that much in it at the moment. So I guess I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you like what you think the overall self-publishing sort of roadmap costs might be, just out of your, having worked with so many different people and different ways of doing things,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I just want to be realistic about it.
Mm.
I do need some sort of editing work, obviously, but like I don't know how to get around it apart from that.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much dependent on the editor's experience,
Yeah.
and sort of I know that Jess tends to follow, there's something called the Chartered Institute of Editors and Proofreaders, and they have sort of like every year they'll publish what they believe is a fair and ethical cost
Mm.
thing. And I know that all the editors and professionals that I know will use that as a guiding, like they're almost like a kind of a guiding thing to base their prices on. However, it is very much based on, as well as that, the experience that the editor brings. I do know somebody who specializes in copy editing health books, so I will let you have her information. And
Oh
I
yeah.
know that she isn't as many years down the line as Jess is, but I do know that she has lots of happy clients that publish, you know, some great books and some that have been shortlisted for awards and things. So she is somebody that I can absolutely recommend, knowing that she's had good results. It's just one of those things where you're going to find that everything varies. So you might get an editor who is maybe slightly like less experienced or newer to it. No, not that they're not good at what they do. It is just the experience thing. And I would say that if I was looking for somebody and I hadn't got Jess, I would say look for somebody who has got this accreditation to what is called CIEP, because then you know that because CIEP makes sure that they've done relevant training and things like that. So they're like a governing body, but they're sort of whatever, that loosely that is what they are. So
Yeah.
you know that if they've got the accreditation on their website or they mention it, that they are somebody who's had to go through some sort of test process to make sure they're good at what they do. And then the same, I suppose,
Sorry,
with things.
what was that called again? I was just trying to open my notes app. Everything.
No, don't worry.
Everything's
Yeah, it's called,
updating. I just want to write it down.
yeah, they're called the Chartered Institute of Editors and Proofreaders. So it's CIEP. And they are the UK sort of for freelance editors. They are kind of where they have, I think they almost have an index of people on there. You might find as
Yeah.
well, Anna, that you can go on there and they've got people that you can on their directory that you
Yeah.
can approach. And like I said, it is just one of those things where it is a cost, but
Yeah.
there are ways of making it slightly cheaper. I would avoid just because you can't guarantee the quality, I would avoid things like Fiverr and stuff like that, even though they probably are much cheaper. I just think to protect, because what you want to do essentially is, as we all do, is to produce something that is really good quality, professional. And so there will always be a bit more of a price attached to that. In terms of other people to consider, you do then have proofreading to consider, which is cheaper. And if you are somebody that's fairly confident with, you know, your work and your writing ability, then sometimes you can just approach a proofreader. And if they are, again, if they're good at what they do, if they actually think, no, you actually need a copy edit, they would probably say, actually, this is because they are the last person to look at it before you put it into the formatting and upload it. If they felt that you did actually need a full copy edit, then they would, I would hope, would recommend it. If they feel actually the proofreader's enough, then you might not need the copy edit. So I'm not somebody who's I'm very cautious of advocating for AI, but sometimes putting it through, there is something called Pro Writing Aid. I don't use it, but I know several fiction writers that use it, which is it's almost like a Grammarly, but on steroids, if you like.
Yeah.
Which is like, so it can do some of the legwork for you in terms of that sort of thing. So it might be that you pay, I think you can pay monthly. So even if you just paid a couple of months for that and used it to tweak before you send it. So there are definitely options. Sometimes I will put, if I've written a very waffly paragraph and I'm tweaking it and it's driving me bananas, I'll put the paragraph into Claude and I'll just say, can you give me some pointers about what I'm doing that isn't working here? And it will, you know, it will say this and then I can tweak. So again, like I said, AI is very Marmite topic for people, but I do think if you are trying to do this on more of a budget, then there's definitely space to think about the kind of the AI choices. I wouldn't put my entire book into it only because, like I said, obviously it's using it to learn and stuff, and people are very cautious at the moment about how much of our our intellectual property and all that it could be taken. So, but I do think that something like Pro Writing, it could be a good alternative. And like I said, a proofreader could be somebody that you approach. And what a proofreader or any copy editor should do is offer you a sample edit. So if you said to them, I'd like to consider working with you, they should offer you a free sample edit of, I think, a few thousand words, so that you'll send them a chunk, and then they'll tell you whether they think you're ready for a copy edit, because some people overestimate that they're ready for a copy edit. But if they're a proofreader, they may well then do that sample edit and say to you, do you know what, you should be okay with just a proofread. And that will help you make your decision.
I suppose it's the difference, isn't it, between more of that like copy editing to tell you about the story, or like, is there something that's been missing, that they're not going to get that out of a copy edit, is that's just...
No, but then I do know that quite a few copy editors who are also proofreaders, so you'll probably find, and I know that the lady I'm thinking of, Sian, she is both. She trained as a proofreader first and then did her copy editing after that. So she's got that mix of ability. So it might be that she does something where she can do the proofread, but she probably bring a little bit of her copy editing hat to it. But again, if you want
What's
to
her last name?
Hill. Sian Hill. Oh my God, I'm literally just making up a name there. I'm sure it is. Let me just look on Instagram. No, it's not Hill at all. It's not. It's Smith. Where did I get Hill from? Oh my God, I don't know. Sian Smith.
Smith felt too basic.
Yeah, Sian Smith Editorial is her Instagram handle. But like I said, she works quite a lot with people in the health space. So
Yeah.
And
what about any other like costs as well? Obviously, like there's a cover design, getting that done. But what about the actual publishing element of it? Because I think I'm going to go down this Amazon self-publishing route. But do you know roughly like what is involved in that, apart from, because you mentioned something about setting, like setting the book.
Yeah. So typesetting.
Yeah.
So again, that I do use Fiverr for.
Okay.
Because I found someone on there for like 20 quid, and he just did Dare to Write, and he just formats it so that it's correct to upload, because Amazon, you have to have a certain type of document. You can't just upload a Word document. And he did that really cheaply and really well for me. So I would say that is something you could put onto easily into Fiverr. Some proofreaders, I think Sian does, offer typesetting as part of their package. So again, you might find that they sort of have more than one service available. The typesetting, that will just make sure that when it's particularly for the if you do an ebook version, it will make sure that when it's on a Kindle, it doesn't look all wonky, and it all looks, especially if you've got diagrams or tables or anything like that, that's worth considering. And then in terms of just, if you are going just down for the time being, and I always say this to people, if to start with you just use Amazon, that's, I think, is just the simplest way forward, to be honest. That is just a case of and it takes you, the good thing about it is that it takes you step by step. So you'd need a KDP account, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, which I actually use the same as my Amazon general login, so you don't have to have anything different. And it takes you step by step on how to upload it. And any cover designer who specializes in book cover design will have the right format, and they'll know how to do the bookmarks and everything. But again, it's really, it just takes you very straightforward step by step, how to do this, then you do this, and it's really straightforward. But just allow time, because once you upload your book, Amazon take up to 72 hours to just check it's all how it should be before they put it on sale. And I made the mistake with Dare to Write where I was like, oh yeah, and I forgot. So I went to upload it, and then it was like, it will just to the 72-hour thing. I mean, normally it's much quicker. It was in about 24 hours, but I forgot that, and so I had this idea for my publishing date, and then I had to shift it by a day. So
what does the KDP stand for again? Kindle
Direct Publishing.
I know, so obviously all of these things are on a sliding scale. Like you can probably pay thousands to get a really posh book cover design as well. But, so I suppose,
I mean, I think I don't know if you have a copy of Dare to Write, Anna. In one of the chapters, I actually, it's the chapter 10, the working with professionals. I'm pretty sure I give some ideas for cover designs. There's actually websites. There's something called 99 Designs, which is like a decent website. because they're not completely unique to you, but they're an okay alternative. And then obviously you can then get a bespoke cover design by and that will be a few hundred
I'm
upwards.
just trying to think about what am I going to need to spend between now
Yeah.
and the end of the year
I
to make this
mean,
happen.
I think to be honest, if you let's say you had a copy edit and you had the proofread, the typeset, the cover design, you are probably looking at about 1,500, I would say.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's being fairly
Yeah.
kind, I would say. But like I said, there's always ways and means to kind of make it work for you. And I have had another client I can think of right now who said the same thing to me. She's like, I don't want to spend loads on this because she just doesn't have it, and it is expensive to do if you went all bells and whistles. But there are definitely shortcuts that you can take to make it more budget friendly. Because Jess, I mean, like I said, Jess is on the pricier side, so. It's definitely worth reaching out to people, getting maybe a sample edit done from people, and they can give you their professional opinion about what you need. For sure. But I can definitely give you, as I say, I can so it's Sean, and I'll let her know that you might be in touch, and she can
Great.
you can chat to you.
So I remember you said they need a long lead time as well sometimes.
Yeah, it depends on their popularity and their availability. I know, I think Sean's, from what I can remember, she posted something about the fact that she was full up till the end of April. But that might be quite good because that will give you time then to do your own self edits. And even if you sent it out to a few beta readers as well during that time, which is the process that I
My mum used to be an English teacher, and she's very good at proofreading, like finding mistakes and things. So I might get her to
red
do
pen out again. She'll be enjoying that.
When you say beta read, is that like basically like friends or people that you know that might be good to just get them?
I would say yes to a couple of friends, but I would also see wherever possible to get people that are your target reader. So sometimes I will be doing this eventually. I'll be reaching out to my newsletter community and just asking if there's anybody who would like to do a beta read. And then what I then ask of those beta readers is to be the kind of the people that will do the first few reviews as well, because then that means you've got some, as soon as you upload the book within the first few days, you've got some good reviews. And I like I said, for Dare to Write, I had about 5 people, I think, who I just asked to read it through. And some of them were like my friends, but others were kind of much more the target reader, because they're going to give you the best feedback. Your friends will probably just be really nice to you and be like, yeah, it's just really good. But if they're not your target reader, it's almost like they're just kind of there to make sure it reads nicely. Whereas the target reader is more, is this actually helping me? So yeah.
Useful.
And at the approx time for the editor / proofreader type stuff, would you say in general like 2 to 3 months is maybe a good gauge? Like it could be less, it could be more, but
what, to get your edits back?
No, lead time in getting.
I would say I guess my advice would be, when you feel like you're at a point, probably where Anna is now, where you're sort of near the end, maybe halfway through, near the end, because sometimes I always say, try and approach with as much time as possible. But if you've only just started, like Julia's found, and like I found, to be honest, with this book that I've just finished, it actually took me longer than I thought it would. And I pushed the date back with Jess twice, and that's, bless her, because she knows me and she knows that I will get there eventually. She was really kind about it. But I think if you, like you say, if you haven't worked with someone before, it's best to get a date in that feels good. Makes you feel a little bit, oh, okay, I need to get cracking, but not so much then that that it feels stressful and horrible, and it's not what you want it to be.
A sweet spot.
You need the sweet spot, yeah. So I think I need to just recognize that perhaps I know for the next book I'm definitely giving myself 6 months for the first draft, rather than, because I wrote the first draft of Dare to Write in a month. So in my last experience was, I wrote that really quickly. And then it's only because it was a linear thing where it was like, do this, then do this, then do this. And that it's kind of how I write my book. So it was very quick, because it was just that, literally, like, this is the process. Then this one is more abstract because it's around productivity. So I just stupidly thought it would be about 3 months. But yeah, I just realized I wasn't gonna force myself to do it in a quick, just because I'm just that, sad sack who's always like, oh, do it quickly and pat yourself on the back. I was like, no, I'm gonna actually extend this and make it less of a kind of a rush and a panic and a whatever. But that's an experience. And I don't know why I thought I'd be able to do it quickly. But maybe the Dare to Write just was a false thing that I did, that it was a one-off experience. Because I can't write my novels in any, like my novels take me, God, yeah, best part of a year. So anyway, never mind. It was a learning process.
It's good to hear all this, honestly. Like, I know you feel like you're off them, but it's good to hear, because it isn't linear and it isn't one size fits all, is it? It's
No. If I had all day where I could do like 3 sprints a day, then I probably would have got it done in the 3 months. But I think because I'm still writing so much for other people, that almost like in my head, I was like, I can't write any more words today. Like, I can write my sprint, I can write this person's copy, I just had, and then my newsletter, and I was just like, I was so overwhelmed with the sheer volume of words that I was having to churn out in various different ways in a day, that I thought, actually, when the time comes and I'm joyously writing more full time in terms of just books, then I probably think I'll have that headspace in the day to sort of, make it a little bit more a real focus rather than like necessity, like we're saying about seasons. At the moment, I'm rewriting somebody's website, so I know this kind of season is a time of intense copy. So it's good that it's gone to Jess now, because then the rest of this month I can just do that for that person. And then when it comes back, that will have finished and I can give the book a bit more headspace. So yeah, it's just trying to do it in a way that feels okay.
Elton John was on the radio being interviewed. He's got a new song out, that a duet. And it was remarkable to hear even him say what a struggle he found the writing process.
Mm.
You think he has written so many songs. So it's just, yeah, it's very we can have all the tools and the knowledge, but it's yeah.
Yeah, it is
All
a
the
thing. It's a
things.
thing. I think it's also now made me realize that, particularly for sort of the next sort of iteration of Write 90, am going to move it to be a 6-month thing, because I realize that most people that have done it have stayed for longer than the 90 days, or have, who've needed that bit extra. And I feel like if you can do it in less than 6 months, great. But actually, I think giving ourselves the kind of the grace and the I suppose the kindness and the self-compassion to see it more as a 6-month thing, or even a year thing. But that's everyone's different, and that's why it's really hard to do something where it's not like you can promise somebody something in 7 days, because that's why when I say write your book in a weekend, it always makes me really angry, because I just think, A, you're not writing it in a weekend, you're probably using AI, but also B, there's that pressure in that doesn't need to be there. It should just be something that is at least a little bit enjoyable and easeful. Anyway, that's now because I'm at the end of my first
the joy.
Yeah. Was there anything else, Anna, on the kind of the practical side of it?
No, I don't think so. I forgot about your book as well. I will go back and look at that.
Right. Yeah, I just remember at the time thinking, I was going to have a look, and I think in all of the sections on editing, proofreading, and cover design, I've tried to give this is what you can do if you're on a budget, and this if you're you're able to or want to, because some people don't even want to spend lots on it. Then they were obviously, you can go down the I've seen people who've been quoted for some of these hybrid publishers like 22 grand for all the formatting and the cover and all that, and great if that's what you want to spend on it, but for most of us, I think that's just that's next level crazy. But they obviously get people who do, otherwise they wouldn't offer it, would they? It wouldn't exist as a service. But
I guess there are certain books that are like business books where people can charge a lot of money for the book itself. So maybe that's where you think.
I know the lady that told me about her friend said to me that her friend was doing a recipe book. So it was 22 grand because it would be beautiful photos and all the formatting to make. So I do understand that there must be an element of specialty and kind of a specialism in putting that together to make it look like a coffee, kind of.
Well, and then how many you have to sell?
Mm, a
to
lot.
to
Yeah.
get that back. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, either that or you just see it as a kind of as a business
Mm.
thing that is just something that's an asset as a business thing. But yeah, like I said, everybody's experience, everyone's ambitions in this process are so different that you just know that they're there, and then there'll be somebody who doesn't get anything proofread or copy edited and uploads it onto Amazon as well. So you've got people who really don't care at all about it, and then I mean, I think 50 Shades of Grey was, I think she probably just a glance over it because that's not grammatically great, but she sold out many of those.
Yeah.
So
And add a movie.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe
So
we just need to add some bondage in somewhere.
yeah, exactly. That's where we've gone wrong.
More exciting.
Anyway, about this business strategy. Have you tried?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, but if there's at any point you just need you've got any other questions about the publishing thing, then just reach out. I know it's no problem at all, and I'm happy to, happy to help where I can. But like I said, it's just about making you aware that it can be like like the lead in time with editors because they may already have stuff that they are
Just sort of having a plan for the rest of the year. Like if I can do it in April, get it done, like what's the next step? Like just trying to work out what
I
the
think it's and
deadlines are.
also so that it doesn't feel rushed and stressful,
Yeah.
because there's a lull where your editor might have the book and then you're building up to launch day where you're still waiting for the cover design. It feels a little bit like, oh, it's just kind of meandering along, and then all of a sudden you have to pull it all together to do, to get everything ready, formatted onto that. So there's a point where you'll feel like nothing's really happening, and then
so when you get your copy edits back, obviously so then you have a chance to go through it and like do you accept them, or do they actually do the edit? Like
no, they won't do
they
the
give you
edit.
like track changes effectively, like on a
Exactly.
But then you have to upload them or to correct them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But then you get another check as well, like at the end of that, because
it depends on what the editor offers. So some will do like another round of revisions. Others, will, as far as I know, I think most people will do another round of revisions. But what I always say to people around editing is, if you're with a traditional publisher, pretty much what the editor says goes. Whereas with a self-publishing route, they are suggestions, and Jess will always say to me, these are just suggestions, unless there's anything where she's like, no, you're absolutely categorically wrong. And she'll just say, oh, because actually it should be this or whatever. Then I'm like, oh, sometimes it's just the way you've heard things as you've grown up, and it's not actually the right phrase or whatever. But no, most of them are just her suggestions, and you can accept or reject them. Because when you're self-published, ultimately, what you put out there is completely up to you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Which isn't the case with traditional, because they, once they've bought the rights, you're pretty much tied to what they want the book to be. So yeah. So I would say give yourself, once it's gone, whatever route you go down, I think probably if it's April sort of time, I would just to give yourself a little bit of an easeful process towards hitting publish, or getting it all sorted. I would say think to yourself, August, September time to sort of have it absolutely out there and ready. And if it's any sooner than that, great. But if it isn't, that will just manage your expectations a bit, because sometimes, like I said, you might be waiting on the editor to have availability. It will take them. Jess has said to me that mine will be 3 weeks till she gets it back to me, and that's 40,000 words. So if yours is 60, you might be looking at more like a month. It just depends on how quick the editor is.
Yeah.
And then you'll have to go through all her, so just bear that in mind, that
that's another month probably of trying to go through
it, and then sending it out to anybody, getting their feedback, sending it to a proofread. Do you know what I mean? So I think just the expectation, it'll be a few months
end of the year.
Because then even if it's sooner, great, but then you're not, you've given yourself a deadline that doesn't feel like it's too stressful to try and stick to.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Is any other questions from anyone, or are we all feeling good?
We'll just have
that was super helpful.
Oh, sorry about so one of my big things, I go into my library, my local library, and there is a parenting section as I begin, and I just am visualizing my book there.
Nice.
And I just have a question in regards to, if you do self-publish, can you get in libraries?
Yeah. So if you'd need to use all book buyers, and libraries included, will get their books from a central list, and the list you can upload. You can use a website called Ingram Spark, and Ingram Spark basically supply books. They supply them to Amazon, and I've had a client before who uploaded it to Amazon and to Ingram Spark, and then there was this kind of time where it was appearing twice on Amazon and it was all a bit stressful. So if you want it to go into bookshops, then you need to use that service, because then it will go on to like where the booksellers get their stock from. I have only ever done it with one, and that was with the first book, mainly because I was too lazy to do it with the others. The others are just on Amazon, but I have used, and I know that somebody said to me they'd seen the book in a library, and I was like, oh, it was just news to me, basically. But that was 10 years ago when it
Is
first
that the
came out.
same thing as when you have an ISBN number?
Yeah, so when you self-publish, you will need an ISBN number, and you can buy an ISBN number really easily from, I can't even think what the name of if you just type it in, ISBN.
ISBN.com.
Yeah, no, it's like there's a name of the company that does it. Anyway, and you can either buy one, or I think the last time I did it, I think I bought 10 because I thought I know I've got more books coming, so I'll just buy a load of them and then I've got them. But yeah, to upload it to Amazon, you have to have an ISBN number. It won't allow you to do it without one. And then once you have an ISBN number, that number then allows, if somebody went into a bookshop and said, I'd like to order this book, they'd ask what the ISBN number was. And if you've used Ingram Spark to upload your book onto like this kind of system, then the bookseller will be able to find it, or a librarian. If you go through Amazon, they wouldn't be able to. So it just depends. Everyone's desire is different. So if you do want to be in bookshops, it's hard to get in bookshops as a self-published author. I saw a bookshop in Tunbridge Wells the other day saying, if you're self-published and you want to know whether we can stock your book, come in and chat, but it's more as to whether they think there'll be a demand for it. So it is harder, but it's not impossible, because I have had a couple of clients who have got into local, like independent bookshops locally to them, and then one of them had a really nice like book kind of thing where she went and sat in there with her books on the table, and she had a few people buy them. And if I'm happy to if you want any help, she's really sweet. If you wanted any help with what that looked like in terms of her experience in the last year, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer an email or whatever. She's currently working on her second book, so she and I have been in contact recently. So I'm sure she'd be happy to help you if you wanted any questions specifically about the process. But yeah, it is one of those things where ISBN has to be wherever you are. But like I said, if you can't ask an independent bookshop, or indeed Waterstones or whatever, to if it's not on this kind of central list.
Thank you.
You can also send a copy of it to the British Library. I don't know whether you knew that, in case you wanted to have it somewhere immortalized. I think I don't know whether it's now the physical book or whether they have like their online directory of books, but again, some people like that just for the novelty factor of it being in the British Library. So yeah, again, that's an ISBN thing. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. I will be doing this book using trying to get it onto the central system. So I'll be in the next few months much more aware of what the current process is. But like I said, because I haven't done it using that, I've only ever used Amazon for the others. Yeah, I've kind of forgotten what the process is. But yeah, I'll definitely be somebody who'd be knee deep in that in a few months' time. I'll be able to help you.
Thank you so much, Steph. That's really helpful. And
No
it's
problem.
really genuinely helpful to hear other people's questions, because we take something from it all, because we're all, this point, isn't it, that we're all sat here with our books trying to,
Yeah, and even if you're not right sort of in the same place as Anna, is actually just knowing for the future when you are in that position what things you might be thinking about. But yeah, like I said, always just be really what's the word I want? Forward thinking, I suppose, in terms of the process, because it is just then you're dependent on the other professionals' availability and things. And if you've got a certain time you want to publish something and then they're not available, it can feel a little bit deflating. So I think it's just about remembering that just try and be as kind of open to publication dates as possible. And if you have a certain one in mind, that maybe it's like a 10-year anniversary of your business or whatever it might be, then perhaps you know, just bear that in mind and approach them knowing that you want it to be on that date, and tell them that, and they'll tell you whether it's doable. Whereas like me, I know I roughly want it to be in June, so I'm sort of just playing with that in my head. But if it isn't the exact week I want it to be, it doesn't matter. It's no big deal. So it doesn't really matter. But in my head, it just helps me stay focused. But just being flexible with the professionals is helpful.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay. Well, I will see you lovely ladies soon.
Yes, hope to see you on
Thanks very much.
No
See
probs. Bye.
you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.